Hello and welcome to another game of Dota 2. Just had the replay paused while I did some test stuff with the microphone. Slightly new microphone, decided only to play to one ear. But that should be fixed now, and if it's not, then whoops. I'm back with another high MMR replay. This is probably going to be some interesting replays around this time. The Omega League just started recently, so I'm sure we're going to see a lot of people trying out a lot of funky builds that get seen at that really high structured pro level. And you know what, at this level they might even work. Maybe I'll do some ones closer to my level where they don't, funnily enough. Either way, as far as high notable players, I think we have Febby in this one. I don't know who that other person is, but we do have Febby on the IO, and I'm wondering if it's a core IO. We have seen core IO come much more into the meta recently, but looking at the draft, unless it's a Leshrac support, which I think is a little odd, it'll probably be a support IO. Regardless, in the top lane, it looks like we have Spectre Jakiro against Earthshaker, Bounty Hunter. Definitely seems to favour the spec from the Jakiro. Quite a strong laning support. That Jakiro attack slow is really powerful. Add on to that just the general damage over time and the fact he's quite tanky. Should have no problem dealing with the double melee lane that is the Bounty Hunter and the Earthshaker. Earthshaker, however, is sitting towards the Radiant base. He's going to look to block that camp up. Block the wave up and really pull Equilibrium as close to his tower as possible to try and secure that advantage, and they are going to need every advantage they get in this lane. This Earthshaker is not a strong laning support at all. He's very much a sniper. He gets in, he does a lot of damage and gets out in one blow, but he doesn't provide that constant presence in the lane. His whole purpose is manipulating the creep wave, as far as I understand. I could be wrong. Either way, in the mid lane, let's switch to free camera. We have a Leshrac into a Storm. Let's get the last hits up. I don't know how this matchup plays. I've not played mid for a very long time. When I did play it, it was like in Crusader. Isn't a very useful representation, and I didn't play over these heroes. But from what I would assume is that Leshrac will probably try and grind down the Storm, whereas the Storm will look for the Vortex combo at level 3, and before that it'll just be a CSing war, where Leshrac tries to land stuns and just sort of slowly grind the Storm down, whereas the Storm probably wants to do 1 or 2 combos, but really we'll be looking at that kill threat towards the level 6, and as we see an immediate stun from the Leshrac as Storm steps up a little too far to try and secure a couple creeps with the Remnant. Does Remnant as he's walking back under tower, nice way to pick up some creeps while still running away and dodging harass. Either way, it looks like a bit of a Leshrac favoured matchup, at least for the first few levels. Meanwhile, down bottom, we have Legion IO against Morphling Phoenix. I do like Legion IO. It's a combo I play quite a lot. One of my mates is a diehard IO, only plays IO, and plays it pretty well. And I can tell you, this lane just wants to brawl. Press the attack onto the IO, amplified through the tether, is a truly horrific amount of regen, especially if you want to look towards maxing it. And overwhelming odds as well. You can very easily sustain it with the help of the IO, and that is a fair amount of magic nuke early on in the game. And just in general, it allows you to really just constantly take trades and always win the regen war. So I would not be surprised to see this one going. I'd say it's definitely favoured towards the Dire in this lane. However, I could see it going even. Phoenix is pretty strong, has very good tools to trade, but as we can see, it does look like the Morphling is starting to get bullied back. When he hits level 3 and is able to play around attribute shift, maybe we will see a bit more. But in the mid lane, it does look like just trying to keep my eyes on it. It's very close right now. Could go either way for a first blood. There is a Fairy Fire still on this Leshrac, but he has the level 3. Gets the Remnant pull, but the Fairy Fire is there just in time, but doesn't get the stun out, and Morph will claim first blood onto this Leshrac. But is very low. Would not be overly surprised to see a bit of a suicide play here before the Leshrac can quite get out. But no, he's got a bottle on Courier. That should be enough to get him back. Meanwhile, up top, let's have a look up top. if we look at the CS, looks pretty even. However, if we compare regen, well, Earthshaker's not having a very fun time, and his courier gets sniped. That loses him his win lace. He really does need that in this lane. Without move speed, it's very difficult to trade into a ranged support, but he is making himself a nuisance as best as possible, sniping that big fat red creep from the Spectre. Nice to see them moving the equilibrium more towards the offlane tower. It's really the only chance they have of winning this lane. Earthshaker just making a nuisance for himself. Can't really play the lane, so has to play the pull game and the disruption game. But it does look like a full pull, denying a lot of XP from the offlaner. And back down bottom, the Phoenix is actually going to go down. Missed how this started up, but the Wisp is low, being hunted down by the Morphling. Doesn't have enough of the waveform, but could stick to just barely get enough, but the IO is now just about out of reach. Will we see the Legion dive to go towards the Morphling? Probably not. And level 3 attribute shift is enough to kind of get you out of danger. Not perfect, but decent. Meanwhile, we see nothing happening down here. I thought we would be seeing the Bounty Hunter go onto the Jakiro, and he does to some extent, but only to trade. But now the Earthshaker has come in, might get the Fissure block just in time, but Spectre has staggered through the trees, might be looking to turn around. Jakiro just getting free damage onto the Earthshaker in the meantime. I'm trying to be energetic today, boys. Really trying to pump the energy, which is a terrible idea, because we're going to try and crank a few of these out all at once. And we see Leshrac diving behind the tier 1 to try and kill that Storm, who is low on mana. And without mana, very dangerous for a Storm. Both heroes having gone bottle. However, but the Leshrac seems to have won the war for the first rune, which gives him a bit of an advantage going forward. But no, I've been very lazy recently because I live in the glorious UK, and when I say glorious, I mean a complete mess, and it has been very warm. It has been incredibly warm as the Earthshaker gets taken down by the Jakiro, burnt down by just the general damage that comes out of that hero. Earthshaker isn't actually the most tanky hero in the game. I know he looks like an absolute unit, but he isn't. Certainly not without a lot of it. But he dies and immediately comes towards the mid lane, gets a Fissure block with the Phoenix, and there's no way Leshrac manages to survive this. Gets a little bit of damage off, but is taken down by rotation of both supports. However, as a result of this, Morphling is getting heavily pressured underneath the tower, and Spectre is getting reasonable free farm. He is going almost exactly even with the Bounty Hunter at the moment. However, with the full wave kills from the pulls of the Jakiro, I think that top lane is definitely in favour of the Spectre, despite the greater number of denies on the Bounty Hunter. And here we have a tower dive, but yeah, attribute shift is quite hard to fight through, even if you are Legion IO. Do see Headdress and Wand on the IO. Always nice just to have that. Any regen on an IO is worth its weight in gold. Meanwhile, up top it looks like we have the slow from the Jakiro trying to get a kill onto this Bounty Hunter. No way he survives, and he will fall to the Spectre. But in the mid lane, Storm has gotten his ultimate. Earthshaker is there on the sideline. TP from the Jakiro probably won't be enough to save the Leshrac. Just has enough. Storm might go down in return. Has no mana to zip away. One more tower shot would do it. And he actually does fall, which is a bit of a nice windfall for the Jakiro in terms of experience. The faster he gets that Macro Pyre out, the sooner he can really just take a lane, take a dodgy lane from his cores, free them up to play the map a little more without the threat of really losing tower. Though, that doesn't seem to be the biggest deal in this game. The Radiant really don't have a very strong lineup to actually hit and pressure towers. It's very much a mid-game brawling lineup while they wait for this Storm to come online and fight. But you can always dodge fights. You just don't take them and it'll turn into pickoffs. And when you have a Bounty Hunter, you want to fight. It's not always the greatest thing to have a Bounty Hunter and just be running around the map killing off a support every maybe once a minute, once every 90 seconds. It's not really good. You just get dragged around the map for nothing. So if they can dodge fights, that would be nice. And then when Dire hit their timings, which will be probably relocate and duel to set up pickoffs, which will be a nice counteraction to the way this Radiant line wants to play. They clearly want to just have messy, brawling fights, and we do see a TP from the IO into the mid lane to find the Storm. Will they get the Earthshaker as well? And here's the Macro Pyre, not being used to defend towers like I said, but being used to kill an Earthshaker. Even so, a huge amount of damage just secures that kill. Doubt they would have gotten that without the Macro Pyre there. And a TP in from the IO just keeps the Leshrac hale and hearty, and he finally starts to make use of that Diabolic Edict. Now, when we talk about the Radiant not having any tower pressure, they do have some. They have the Morphling, and the Bounty Hunter could go a Desolator for the ability to hit towers. But Storm, not the greatest tower hitter. Earthshaker and Phoenix, absolutely not. Though we might see Phoenix pick up a Meteor Hammer, which would definitely be a good way to do it, but it looks like instead he's queued up a Spirit Vessel. They do need one this game. They absolutely need one. It's good against Spectre, it's good against Legion, it's good against IO. However, without the Meteor Hammer, they're going to really struggle to actually get some tower damage in. Whereas the Dire, they have a Leshrac. They don't need their Spectre to turn up and win fights to push towers. They can get a pick off and then kill a tower immediately off the back of that just with one Edict. And if there's one thing they can do, it's get pickoffs. Relocate into duel. Removes the need for a Blink Dagger. Your Legion can just itemize straight for something to actually kill people. But it looks like it will be going. She will be going for a Blink Dagger, which is definitely nice if you're not looking to go for one of the, let's say, the support targets, but I'm including the Bounty Hunter. So the Bounty, the Earthshaker, and the Phoenix, they all you don't need a blink for. But the Storm and the Morphling, you do need a blink, because if they can easily escape. And we see a nice split Earth onto the Storm as he tries to punish the Leshrac for looking towards the tower, but he does manage to zip away. Earthshaker will be going down, and that's the tower going to the Dire. Definitely starting to shape up to have a lot of momentum for the Dire side here. And Leshrac immediately smells a tower to be had, but looks like a relocate onto the Morphling. Lightning to slow him down, but an egg is popped defensively, and it's only the IO hitting it. There's no way it'll be stopped. It was close, one hit away, and the relocate away takes the Leshrac and the IO out of danger, but really leaves the Legion high and dry there. But it was a very nice attempt. Perhaps if they got a quick duel off, it would have led to a very nice kill. It does look like, especially the IO wants to play around the Leshrac this game, which would also inform the Legion's need for a Blink Dagger. Or in my experience, the IO wants to play around the hero that benefits the most from having a lot of regen and added mobility, which is very often the offlaner in the early parts of the game. Double damage on the Storm, does jump forward, is looking for the IO, and with the added right click from the Bounty Hunter, will kill him, as Jakiro falls as well, does drop the Macro Pyre, but it doesn't fall onto anyone. Leshrac dies, but gets the Split Earth off, allowing the Spectre to haunt in and find the Storm in the return. Bounty Hunter did die as well, didn't catch that. But let's have a look. Where did the gold swing? Radiant favoured, but really not enough in it to clearly make it worth it for anyone. The big thing is, if we have a look at the net worth, Morphling is not doing anywhere nearly as well as the Spectre. And that is dangerous. Not being truly heavily punished, but as soon as this blink comes online on this Legion, he's going to get hunted down relentlessly. Especially considering Legion can duel, and then the IO can relocate a Leshrac in to have the damage. I doubt Legion can really kill this Morphling on its own, but if you can just bring your damage to any fight, then he absolutely can. Haven't seen a duel yet though, and I really would like to see a bit of reload play to possibly just find anyone really, but especially Storm, I think, right now. Storm is a very tasty target. Macro Pyre could look for the duel, does in fact look for the duel. With the Macro Pyre on top, it might just be enough to pressure the Morphling. He's already pretty heavily strength shifted. Not much more HP to find. There is an egg available, and they might commit it if it goes to shit, but it goes to shit, the tower falls, and alongside Morphling. An egg is not yet committed. Perhaps a mistake on the part of the Phoenix. Definitely it would have been an idea to sack Egg to allow Morph to try and get away. But perhaps a futile one. And the relocate on the IO up top to allow the Leshrac to farm the wave. It must have been a pretty fat wave, but here's the problem with the relocate. They know exactly where you're going to come back to, and we have a TP in from the Storm, who's immediately going to look for the IO on the backlines. This is what you have to do. You cannot leave this hero alive, but an Ice Path just barely saves it, but no, the Echo Slam finishes him off. Should bring down Egg Pops, and everyone is going down. Legion is the last alive and is running away, but a Fauntin from the Spectre might allow them to turn duel onto the Bounty Hunter, and that will be a quick and easy win. What looked like a truly lost team fight with a quick Hauntin actually turns out to be a reasonably even trade.
Dire's top tower is about to fall.
I think I'm making a few mistakes on the commentary here and there, missing some of the key action, not quite painting the picture in the right colours, but I think I'm mostly within the lines. We see two TPs coming top, one to the tier 1, one to the tier 2, so they both get a nice 3-second TP, nice little tip. And that does force Morphling to run away. He is fully agi-shifted. If he could get caught, though he doesn't get caught, it's a Morphling, he can very easily just waveform away. Certainly, I can see the logic for this Legion going this more pick-off build, or in fact I'd say a lockdown build. That's really what this Legion needs to do. This game, he needs to lock down the two important hard-to-kill cores of the Storm and the Morphling. Because they don't have much in the way of proper disable for those two heroes. Ice Path is not enough to stop a Storm, though it can really mess up a lot of things. Great stun, but not quite enough. Might just see the duel committed here, but no. They were on. The other two were here on a relocate. But with the IO, definitely should see the blink into the duel. No, tether's broken by the blink. Doesn't want to commit the duel yet. Just slowly wearing the Earthshaker down as he keeps sort of stunning you up. Blink is up in a few seconds. Nobody's coming in to help. And perfect stuns every time he wants to try and get the duel off, but he finally gets it. But meanwhile in the top lane, the Jakiro is getting hunted down by 3. Support for support action right there. But I think it favours the Dire, because the Leshrac is here and he smells a tower to eat. What is on the plate today, Leshrac? I think it's a tier 2, though the TP in from the Phoenix to defend it. But perhaps it would have been an idea to trade it off for this tier 1. Might not fall without a little bit of assistance from the heroes, especially as the Spectres TPing in to defend it. Impressive work from the Dire, managing to keep all of their towers alive while playing on the other side of the map. It's especially difficult to keep that safe lane tier 1 alive when you're on the other, literally the opposite corner of the map with most of your heroes for the whole game. And yes, I do have a bit of a case of the hiccups right now. Egg committed. Nice stun to try and keep them in there. Might catch the Leshrac, but no, they're all out of range. But a quick zip on the Storm catches the IO. And pressure onto the Leshrac, but Mech heals them both up to full. And a duel onto the Earthshaker will find him and take him down. Macropire catches up the Storm. Spectre haunts in and finishes him off. No Sunray to escape from the map on this. Actually did have the Sunray, but didn't have a TP, so not much point. And that's another really nice fight for the Dire as they move into another tower. That's their first tier 2. We'll be seeing them taking that outpost very soon. Now if we would check on the Morphling, I hope he has something on Courier. Probably a full Yasha, but even then. I mean, it is only 17 minutes, but you would really hope for a little bit more. You'd really hope for a complete Manta at the very least at this point in the game, but he is forced to TP back, but the Split Earth is perfectly timed and catches him before he can actually get anything off. They might just bring down the Spectre with the Sunray here, but no, Earthshaker dies instead. However, a Fountain Zip from the Storm kills the IO and does massive damage to the whole team. Remnant combo will actually finally bring down the Spectre on the backlines with a few more zips. Legion not able to do too much. Huge plays from the Storm there. Pretty much single-handedly defending the racks and keeping them hale and hearty. Jakiro just trying to blindly look for anything but in fact willful to the Storm, who has been propelled into first place in the net worth. I'd still not be too worried if I was the Dire. That is a pretty major feed. However, you still have the net worth lead. You're still, for the most part, really dominating their cause. Storm isn't ahead so much as caught up. And the IO has a mech complete, has something on courier. Is it anything interesting? Ring of Regen? Not particularly. Interesting to see him going for a pipe. Normally you want heal amp items on the IO and things to keep yourself alive. However, in terms of ways of keeping yourself alive, I think pipe is quite an expensive one that you would ideally want your offlaner to pick up. But in this game, Legion wants to go a greedy build to really be a presence in the fights, and I can understand that. Leshrac isn't a particularly strong right-click core, and the Legion needs to be able to run through a fight and get to their target, because it's the only way some of these heroes will die. And unfortunately that leaves the supports to pick up the scraps in terms of auras and defensive items for the team. And as a result, here we have a pipe on an IO eventually. Looks like the hood is complete. Now let's have a look at the other supports in this game and see what their itemizations are. I should be better with the camera board, but I will try. I will try to be better. A very slow 4-staff coming out on the Jakiro, not too surprising. Playing a bit of a position 6 this game, with the IO is scooping up a lot of farm from just being involved in a lot of kills and generally being a little bit of a greedy support. Bit of an unfortunate ward there, will be immediately dewarded by those sentries. Unless Jakiro finds them, instead does find them both. Might die for this, with the morph being so close by. But doesn't. I do wonder if that ward was spotted out. Might have been. Looks like, however, forget warding, a quick Echo Slam into the middle, and Zip finds the Spectre immediately. Leshrac stuck in the middle underneath the Egg, but Macropyre's committed on top of the Storm, but he manages to zip out. Egg pops onto 3. Legion looking for the commitment into the middle, gets the Jewel, but the Icarus Dive Mat has them run all over the place, but doesn't matter. Jewel is won regardless. Still, strong fight for the Radiant, managing to bring down the Spectre, even if it cost all of their big ults. And I was going to say, not losing much in return, but they do in fact lose the Morphling. Jakiro eventually goes down, and everyone is on low HP. Would not be surprised to see another kill coming down onto the Earthshaker. They'll quickly transition this into a tower. So in the end, valiant effort from the Radiant. Thought it was going to go really well, but they got picked off right at the end. But a Fountain Zip from the Storm. Slightly mistimed Split Earth, doesn't quite catch. And they disengage without quite getting the tower. But nice little defense. Unfortunately, if you are going to Fountain Zip as a Storm, it becomes quite difficult to carry on the fight, especially if you are... Now he does have the Bloodstone and has a few charges, but even then, it's not quite enough mana regen to just perpetually zip. And if you're going to zip that far, it's a really huge nuke, enough to really swing the fight if you have some people to follow up, which they didn't there, because all of the big ultimates had been spent and the Morphling was dead. Morphling still not having the Manta completed, perhaps not as much help as you would like in that situation, even if he was alive. But the issue is, it's very hard to continue fighting when you use all of your mana on that initial zip. So it's a good deterrent, though, if it's the tail end of a fight and everyone's low, which is exactly what we saw there. Nice efficiency. We see the map sort of just cut straight down the mid lane. And as I say that, Spectre decides to jump the river. Well, jump the mid lane even. But even so, it seems like the Dire have more control of the map right now. Even if it's only a 2k net words. I'll try that again. Even if it's only a 2k net worth lead, it feels much better to be on the Dire right now. I'm not looking at anything. And they smoked for the Roche. They are on the high ground though. Smoke breaks, and they have a sense it might be the bounty hunter, who is immediately killed in the duel. They then catch the Morphling, who... Can they kill him before the egg goes off? No, they can't. And will the Leshrac fall in the meantime? Yes, he will. Legion almost following, but is tethered to the Io. Io, having the clumsy net, manages to grab the Morphling, but can he get away? Waveform out. No stun to stop him, so he does manage to get the TP away on the low ground. So all in all, pretty even trade. However, all the big ultimates spent once again on the Radiant side as the Haunt comes in to kill the Earthshaker off. Storm, trying to just be generally annoying, dodges the clumsy net. But is caught by the Ice Path and is found by the Jewel at just the tail end of the Ice Path. Can they bring him down in the middle of the Jewel? Doesn't look like it. Almost ends up with Storm winning the Jewel as the Morphling comes in with that attribute, with that Adapted Strike, and they do pick up a triple kill in the mid lane, even though it cost a buyback on the Earthshaker. Would have liked to see perhaps a bit of a safer play coming out from the Dire there, maybe going and picking up the Roche for the Spectre. It is dangerous for them to take these fights without the Spectre. Their heroes are squishier than they'd like when it comes to a huge amount of magical burst. But speaking of the Spectre, it looks like she's been found and will be brought down by a quick remnant burst with a Sunray. Now, the problem becomes track. When you start to have these messy games against a bounty hunter, it feels like it really ramps up pretty quickly. If you go even in a fight, but you have a few tracks, you're probably doing better out of that fight. Especially if you can find their carry. And your carry benefits from the tracks. Look, as we can see, Morphling now has overtaken Spectre, despite having a very rough start to the game. And Leshrac and Stormer, they're all pretty much even, but you can certainly see that the Radiant have made a hell of a comeback from getting just run over to a few messy fights later having pretty even net worth and being a bit of a terror in these fights. But the Phoenix is found into the Split Earth, Jewel onto the Phoenix, so that's egg down for 45 seconds. No question about it, they'll look to find more off the back of this. They can't... most of the team fight of the Radiant relies on that egg. Without a few really key eggs this game, some of these fights would have gone completely wrong. And so they push for more. Clumsy Net lands. Macropyre committed onto the Bounty Hunter. But invisibility is immortality. But finally they don't have any detection until Jakiro finally catches up. But when he does catch up, oh boy, do they see him, and they slap that bounty. And it looks like they're going to try and push onto high ground and fail, because Morph is cutting waves, Storm is cutting waves. And so that there's just no creeps on the high ground, and Storm immediately jumps onto the Io. We've seen this every single fight. He wants to kill that Io, because without it, nobody dies. And the Dire are just forced to back away because of the creep cutting. All the waves are on their side of the map. They're not exactly strong enough to force backdoor at this point, but a fast zip from the Storm. Looks like it was just to harass the Spectre. They don't want to full commit. They don't know where the rest of the team is right now. I wish I knew the hotkeys for fog and things like that, because that'd be really fancy, wouldn't it? I'd actually know what they could see instead of just taking a wild guess.
Look at Dire's bottom tower, Jax.
And you can already tell that we just ticked over into a new set of neutral items as they come raining in.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
We'll see how those get divvied up very soon. Jump forward onto the Legion. Not a commitment just yet. Bounty Hunter does get caught by the Ice Path, but the egg is committed, so I imagine we will look to see a disengage from the Dire and then a re-engage as soon as the egg pops. Egg pops, Ice Path down, Bounty Hunter caught up in the duel. Will absolutely fall. Another win for the Legion Commander. Phoenix tries to TP out, manages to pull it off, dodging the clumsy net and the Split Earth just in the nick of time. Both supports die. Didn't see the Earthshaker go down, but he did. Long zip from the storm actually misses the wave. That's very sad. Always feels bad when you see that. The whole point of that is kill the wave. But speaking of killing, down on the bot lane, the racks are falling, despite the storm trying to clear the wave, and the Phoenix throwing a few fire spirits in. Not really enough. Sunray committed, starts to burn, chunk down that Spectre, and a long zip. They're starting to wear them down. It's hard for the Dire to stay here for a really long time, as the storm just has permanent mana, and he's back out again. I might actually kill the IO here, but no, an Ice Path forces him to retreat before he can actually finish the combo and bring the IO down. But it does look like the Dire will start to back away and look instead towards the tier 2. And then probably Roshan. As soon as... How long on egg? 30 seconds? Probably after the next important pick-off or the next commitment of those big spells, they'll look towards the Roshan. Can't really take it when Echo and Egg are up. Unless, of course, they find a pick onto the Storm. However, the Lincolns keeps him alive. No Yules to allow any setup.
Dire don't look too scared of Radiant's top tower. Radiant's top tower is
Tier 2 forwards without much resistance, and the Dire back up. Let's check in with the items. Bloodstones on both mid laners, but forget about items, it's a team fight. Dive in, Egg onto the high ground, very well positioned, but Io, stuck up on the high ground, can't really be hit, but can't tether to anyone either at this point. Is being very quickly killed. Focused down by the Phoenix, who is then killed off. Earthshaker falling at the same time. All the supports are dead. Now, Legion, having been forced out the fight, is looking to come back in, gets the duel, an immediate kill onto the Bounty Hunter. Haunt in, and the control onto the Morphling will bring him down. Now it's just Storm left. Not much mana left, but has the Bloodstone, will be able to get away and not get found. No Basher yet on that Spectre. When the Abyssal comes out, Storm's going to have a much harder time trying to get away with this. But until then, reasonably easy to outrun anyone on the Dire team. Buyback was forced on the Phoenix, and they're not going into Roche, which is a bit of a surprise. Would have thought it was an absolute guarantee after that. It seems very easy, and here we are, going into the Roche pit. Legion says, you know what, Spectre, if you don't want the Aegis, I will take it. And unsurprisingly, here comes Spectre into the pit, seeking to claim that extra life. After all, this hero is a real pain to kill once. Oh, but a quick zip from the Storm chunks the IO down to half HP. And somehow manages to get the TP out, despite half a dozen stuns standing around him, but all of them have a bit of a wind-up. Would have been nice to maybe see a completely blind split Earth, but always rough to try and predict these things. Leshrac almost stepping up a bit too far, but is kept safe by the Legion, who manages to grab the Morph while he was not particularly strength shifted. Might just bring him down. He does, in fact, get brought down. But the egg is popped deep in the base, allowing the Dire to start to disengage. No one gets caught, but the IO is stuck on the high ground, but it doesn't seem to matter. They can't actually kill him for some reason. And then they just commit forward again. Storm really wants to kill this IO. My mate has a term for this, IO syndrome, where the other team decides they want to kill the floating ball of fun so much that they consistently feed to do it, and that's what I think what we just saw. And we will look, and Dire will just end the game off the back of that. Really well played, constantly outmaneuvered. Perhaps a little touch and go in the mid game, where the Radiant got some nice fights, but overall, just a very solid, active play from the Dire, playing around this Leshrac IO pairing to pressure the towers down early, then duel just to find pickoffs freely, and as soon as Spectre sort of hit their item timings, they just steamrolled over them. For the most part, I mean, the mid game was a bit spicy.